Hi friends, we are continuing to work with process definition, a process definition document means the steps for process creation. In the last 2 days, we have seen an exception management, use management, and then here we are going to see the credentials. So after so credentials in the sense the username and passwords to access system should never be saved in the initial values of data items, and the system access information should always be stored in a secured and encrypted stores such as Blue Prism credential managers and process alerts. And ideally, Blue Prism solution should not need to be constantly monitored in control room to ensure it's still running without any issues. To decrease the management of your solution requires a form of a process alerts could be built into your process to inform the process controller team if something went wrong, and this can be as simple as sending an alert before your process terminates. So it's recommended that the organization decides on a preferred method of sending alerts that is used for all processes that are developed. The common methods of sending alert messages are Blue Prism process alerts, and this can be configured in the security in the users of the product. And to receive alerts, we need to have set a computer with the Blue Prism product, so running and connected to the environment so in which the alert was raised. Next one is emails, and many clients use one of the available email interfaces to send alerts to the controller team. And we can use for sending mails or receiving mails, we have two options. One is POP3 or SMTP, and other one is a MapX, a Map Internet Explorer. And the next one is a CRM or a workflow of customer relation management or workflow systems. Some clients raise a support ticket in an existing workflow system. Other monitoring tools and some clients have existing monitoring tools that they use to send process alerts, and how alerts are sent depend upon the options available to interact with the tool set. And next one system unavailable exceptions, and we have already seen this part system exceptions, business exceptions, etc. In the Blue Prism basic template, the process simply terminates if the same exceptions occurs repeatedly. And a more robust but complex option that can be implemented is to recognize if a system is unavailable, and instead of terminating, send an alert to the Blue Prism controller team and periodically attempt to restart the unavailable system until the system can be restarted available again. The system unavailable exception type is thrown when an application cannot be launched, and any polling logic that periodically attempts to launch the system should include a stop, and the decision to check if the controller has requested that the process should stop or if the stop time has passed. And the system unavailable logic on our mark item was an exception page and looks like the following way: a start, system unavailable, release item, send alert, and then poll systems for availability, and then retry exception, and set tag as a business exception, and if it is yes, set tag as a system exception. And next, the fourth step is the test or build. So one of the most common issues raised by new developers creating their first Blue Prism solution is that it works in Process Studio, but it doesn't work in a production when I run it from control room. This problem is almost always the result a poor wait stage logic in objects, and indicates that the developer has not adequately tested the solution running at full speed during the process build. Because if you observe in the earlier videos, unless we insert wait stage in Object Studio, it won't run in Process Studio as well as in a control room. That's why the wait stage is a critical part in process development. So to reduce the risk, it is recommended that the developer working in a Process Studio constantly tests the solution running at full speed as action stages are added. It ensures that any issues with an object interfaces are found as early as possible rather than waiting until the solution is handled over for UAT, means user acceptance testing or a production rollout. So for example, image shows a process flow after only the startup and close down pages have been completed, and even though only these two pages are finished, like the developer should run the process full speed just to test like those 2 pages and the objects they work like correctly. Once the startup and close down pages, the developer will progress with a continuous cycle of adding like a bit more process flow logic and testing at a full speed. And the step 5 is like a peer review. And every process built in Blue Prism must be like a peer reviewed by an experienced Blue Prism developer or mentor rather than the developer that created it. A peer review is not there to undermine the ability of the process. Ability of like a developer. It simply acknowledges that so will make mistakes, and an experienced second pair of eyes so is always like a beneficial. And the reviews should ensure that all best practice lessons taught in Blue Prism training have been like implemented, and that your own organization like so internal Blue Prism conventions are adhered to, such as like naming conventions, alerting methods, security policies, etc. And it provides like a following peer reviews: the development best practice guide, peer review checklist, and then you can select some templates in Blue Prism portal. And next one like SME verification means the client or SME means like a subject matter expert. One of the many benefits of the Blue Prism product is its use of like a flow diagram that are readable to business users and that can be usually stepped through and discussed with the process SME. Like Blue Prism recommends that a verification step is included in our delivery methodology to validate that the solution that has been built actually performs as required. This verification step reduces the risk of a process beneficiation being incorrect or incomplete. So to verify your process with a subject matter expert, and the following needs to be done. Okay, schedule time with an SME between completing your process build and user experience testing. Then finally we'll sit with the SME and step through our solution in a process studio and discuss each step in our process with a subject matter expert to validate whether it's correct or not, and we'll pay special attention to business rules and decisions and ensures that update screens and applications are correctly completed. If the SME notice anything incorrect or missing in our solution, and note it down and you add to your process flow later. And if any major changes required to the project, the project manager should be informed that the changes should be added to a PDD and signed off by the business process owner. And for larger complex business processes may need to have multiple iterations of SME verification sessions, and after so we have made the suggested changes until no more changes or corrections are identified. And the next one is production readiness. And before the process can be signed off as a complete, and we need to ensure the following no reported errors. And the process studio includes an error checking feature and that should be used to ensure your process has to obvious errors and fix or reported errors until the feature reports and that there are no errors remaining. And next we'll see turn off unnecessary logging. So Blue Prism session logging can generate a very large amount of data, and best practice is turn off as much logging in our process as possible, and only leaving enough logging turned on to be able to easily trace the route each case what has taken through your process flow. And logging is usually left turned on for the decision and choice stages, and turn off any logging on stages that can be customer data. And it's very, very important to that customer data is not stored in a session logs. Means you remember this one while we are so design a process, we have an option a stage logging. If we make it a disable, and they can't view in results viewer, means turn off the log viewer. Next, deployment documentation. So before we hand over the process as completed, we need to ensure that all documentation required by our organization, delivery methodologies have been completed, and the solution has changed during the process development, the SDD, like the solution design document or process design instruction document, should be updated to reflect this, and the changes should be like a signed off. Okay, in the next videos we'll see like how to design based on the process definition document, how to design like a solution design document. Thank you for watching. Please stay with us for more videos. Thank you.